And we were like so amazed that, because she had that inspiration in that moment, we had the capacity to fulfill it. I think it made quite a magical connection for us. It's just so amazing that when the kids want something or have inspiration to do something, it's very important that it gets fulfilled so that the creativity gets expressed.
Welcome to another episode of Your Great Story. So this is a very unique episode, right? We are celebrating Children's Day, and today we have Abhishek with us today, right? He's co-founder of Sixth Sense. So without further ado, maybe Abhishek, how would you introduce yourself?
Good morning, Eric, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm very excited to share stories as a build-up to Children's Day itself. My name is Abhishek. It's very nice to be here. I'm a co-founder of Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is a children's-based volunteer group that me and my friends, my childhood friends and my school friends started about 2.5 years ago. And we are actually based at Kebun Baru, and it's quite near Ang Mo Kio Bishan Park. And we serve children 7 to 12 years of age, and there are about 20 of them. And we love what we do because we are acting as befrienders, but really more like elder sisters and elder brothers to the kids. So that's my introduction.
Nice, cool. So let's talk about Sixth Sense, as a organization. So I'm very curious, always curious about how founders name the organizations, name their companies. So how did this Sixth Sense name come about?
Thanks, Eric. So Sixth Sense name actually came about because we were seated in a hotel, and the hotel's name was Sixth Sense Duxton as well. Then, of course, we had to finish our grant and submit it. So it was already 11:59 p.m. and we were like, wow, what shall we name our organization? Sixth Sense. Okay, I'm just joking, but the real reason is really because we believe that the kid's sixth sense is the one that we need to develop, the intuition and the love and nurturing which we need to develop. So that's why the name is called Sixth Sense, because we feel like there's a lot of capacity here for us to do great work. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, this name actually came from a hotel when you were drafting grants. Interesting. So, this idea is really cool, right? Right, kind of befriending the kids and all that at Kebun Baru, right? Anyway, I love Ang Mo Kio Bishan. I'm staying in the near the north area as well. So that's fantastic. But where did this idea kind of come from?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So basically, when I was working at a company called Think Place, it was my first job that I was doing, and I was always looking around for more community-based opportunities because in my 25 years of academic education, I kind of missed out on the community aspect and in a big way. When I started volunteering with Beyond Social Services, I told them that, hey, we would love to do, as part of a corporate giving initially, and with some of my friends, some activities with the children, and then they actually brought us to some of the blocks at Jalan Bukit Merah, and they said that okay, there are 10 kids who came down and did a really nice art-based Christmas session towards the end of 2017, and then we felt like, hey, we can continue on, we can do once a month. So we gathered more and more art supplies, and each month we were doing in different locations, and until 2018 March we went to Yishun as well. We did like a huge 2-day carnival for the kids, where we had sponsored food. We had about 40 to 50 volunteers who came down. We dressed the children up in superhero costumes, so it was really fun. And then the most favorite scene then was basically 2 volunteers who are fathers themselves helping a little girl learn how to do rollerblading. So imagine the 2 fathers on each side of the girl, and then it was such a wonderful impact on me, because I realized that, hey, this brings about a great amount of energy and opportunity for the kids, which otherwise they may or may not have. So we just felt like, hey, we can actually add a lot of value to the kids on Saturdays and Sundays, especially when the kids might be feeling a bit more bored. They really want to do something, but the parents might want to rest. So we just felt like, hey, this is a perfect opportunity. And then as we were building up, we realized that, hey, actually the parents don't really like to let the children go out on their own downstairs. So we felt like, hey, having us and being a trusted member of the extended family, sort of, it can really help us because they trust us, so we can bring the kids down and we can allow for more social interactions among the different kids. Yeah.
Nice. This reminds me of like the kampong spirit, right? The extended family. Like everybody comes down to kind of play some games or do some crafts, right? That's really interesting. So remember, I mean, let's talk about the extended family, right? Or how big is the team, right? Like your core team, your co-founders, and also how many volunteers do you have right now?
Yes, so essentially there are three of us in total. So one is Manisha, who is my primary school classmate, so with whom I reconnected after a 15-year reunion, doing a reunion, and I roped her in, and she said that, hey, I'd like to do children's space work. She was very keen on it. So she's an arts educator currently training in NIE. And then I have another friend of mine called Jezza. So Jezza is from SUTD, and she's an architecture graduate from there. So we did our final year project together in SUTD. And she's an architect in practice right now. So we all bring our own different gifts to Sixth Sense and try to contribute to it as much as possible. One of my other co-volunteers, his name is Selva, and Selva is my JC classmate, and we did part of our army training in SUTD together as well. So you can see, like, we kind of have known each other for more than 5 years, 6 years at least, and that really allows us to work better together because we know that we are dedicated towards the children. And beyond that, we've actually invited more of our university friends to come and contribute as well, because many of them are also looking at a way of giving back, and they actually look forward to the art-based sessions. So when we used to have the face-to-face sessions, we used to have about 35 volunteers coming down on the weekends, taking turns, and so forth. But when the Zoom-based sessions started, because of the COVID-19 situation, we had to adapt our situation, right? So it actually reduced the numbers quite significantly. So we have about 15 volunteers right now. We actually just trained, group of volunteers from a foundation called RLA Foundation. So they gave us some grant money, and in turn they wanted us to train their volunteers. So we had a 3-month training with them, and we did 6 sessions with them. So that was like a great opportunity for us to see how we can actually structure our volunteer training sessions in a way which we can allow others to learn about how we do the work that we do.
Nice. So it sounds like you're kind of scaling up the volunteering group, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that you kind of it seems like you kind of picked up you kind of went back to your whole history in a way, right? Your primary school friend, your uni friend, your kind of JC friend, or even army comes in and all that. So and kind of grouping them together and to drive this initiative, right? So regarding this initiative, for this non-for-profit non-profit work, right? What really drives you to start Sixth Sense?
Yes, so Eric, why we started Sixth Sense and this work is essentially because of how the children react to us or respond around us, and we realized that for children they really enjoy having a lot of free-spirited activities, in the sense that they don't really enjoy a structured session. So that was one of our most initial learnings. So essentially, we don't tell the kids that for 45 minutes, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, you must do our activities, and you cannot run around, you cannot do anything, and you must complete the activity, and it must be a nice A-star piece. Essentially, we tell the kids that, hey, come and enjoy, have fun, run around, there's a lot of food for you, and you can interact with your other friends here, and you can or you cannot, if you like, you can do the art activity. If you don't, it's also okay. You can just go on the swing, and we'll swing you for 2 hours during the activity itself. That's fine too. So essentially, we like to not have a lot of structure in activities and kind of take it step by step, in terms of what the kids are feeling that day, and what is actually needed to be done on the day. I think for Sixth Sense, what really struck me was, in 2017, in one of our earlier sessions where we were just doing 1 session a month, I realized that, some of the kids said that, hey, I want a cloth, and I want to take the cloth and actually design the cloth as like an apron, or so that I can become like a fashion model. So basically, one of my co-founders, Jezza, she took out cloth from her bag, which somehow she had, and she basically traced that, a line around the cloth to actually cut out the cloth, and then she basically dressed herself up. And we were like so amazed that, because she had that inspiration in that moment, we had the capacity to fulfill it. I think it made quite a magical connection for us. It's just so amazing that when the kids want something, or have inspiration to do something, it's very important that it gets fulfilled so that the creativity gets expressed. Secondly, why we actually like to do what we do is essentially because it gives us an opportunity to understand the kids a lot better, and the kids actually has a lot of emotions that they're going through, which may or may not be heard through the week. And the kids love to speak and share, this is what my PE teacher did today. This is how you do a track and field run, and this is a different exercises my PE teacher taught me. And they are just bubbling inside to share all these details, and so we like to talk about emotions and expressions. So what we learned is that using art, we can say that okay, for example, if a child is creating an animal, so and the child is saying that, okay, what does I've created this animal, and we're like, why did you create this animal? Like, why is this animal in this space? And then we basically understand, it actually represents the child's inner world. The child is expressing the inner world through the animal. So we had used clay then to actually sculpt out an animal using the clay, and then the child that was actually just expressing hey, I made this animal because maybe I get bullied at school, and the animal is hiding from the big animals out there. And you're like, so there's something happening in your school space. So actually, it gives us an opening to the emotional world, which is quite precious to us, lah. Yeah, and thirdly, the most important reason is that it strengthens their social connection and lets them know that, hey, there's someone that they can trust in the long run, who will be there, to bring, for example, birthday cakes for them if there's a need to, and take them out to do ice skating, or to bring them to Snow City, for example. So I think it's just those things which creates quite a lot of impact. And the kids kind of call you during Monday or Tuesday. What are we doing on Saturday? Can we do this on Saturday? When are you coming? So I think those are the main reasons why we continued on, because we built a strong connection with the children. The children like us, we like the children, so it's quite nice.
Wow. That's really a very admirable act, right? Like the emotional support as well as a trust, system with the kids, right? And there's somebody to share with, a big, brother or big sister to share with, share their emotions and their concerns as well. So in this whole journey, on Sixth Sense, right? What is something that surprises you the most?
Yeah, something that surprises us the most is how much the kids are, choose to come back each time that you went to them. Sometimes we were like, will the kids turn up today? Will there be any kids today? Then sometimes when there are no kids, we are very upset. Then only one kid came down. Then we realized that, okay, even if one kid comes down or 10 kids come down, it's the same thing for us, because even that one kid who comes down deserves all the opportunity and resources from us to create the most wonderful session and conduct it as if there are 10 kids. So I think those are some of the learnings along the way. Another thing that really surprised us is how much the families kind of know us as well. Like over time, because we've been there for about 30 months. So essentially, because of the long duration, the families know us quite well. So sometimes the parents will also ask us, hey, I need a new wardrobe, or you need a new something, and or something needs to be done. Can you help me out during the COVID-19 pandemic with some of the grant applications? And we're like, of course, we will love to help you out, and let us know how we can help you. And then we actually went down to do a CV write-up for them to upload on SG United job portal, and do the online applications for them so they can get the money, etc.
I think it's not easy to run a non-profit, right? And trying to get funds in, get grants in, and need to run this on a very regular basis. So is there a particular incident that really struck you that kind of motivates you to keep going?
Yeah, so when I was at my rock bottom, so I left my job at, I was basically, what happened was that I was at Think Place until 2018 May. Then I started to become a community worker for 6 months at Beyond Social Services, and that's how I got introduced to Kabun Baru. So I was the community worker with Beyond Social Services first. And then I left Beyond in early January of 2019, and I said, I want to do my own thing. I want to see if I can create my own stuff, create my own programs for the kids. Then from January till about April, May, I was like kind of just wondering like, okay, how is this actually done, and how do I actually come up with a program? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually self-employed now. I'm not earning anything. There's nothing coming into the bank. And then I was like, well, who do I do this with? How, there's a lot of question marks in general with regards to the entire situation. So I was just trying to figure this out. Then the thing that really kept me going, especially when, because my self worth was very much tied to how much money I earned, and my parents also were kind of new to this whole concept. Like, oh, what is this guy doing? This guy is not really making any sense. So I was staying at home, and I felt like, okay, this is not really good. So I decided to go to the National Library, sit down there to plan out and read more about children's psychology, children's programs. How do you design a session which makes sense according to what the science is out there? So during this period, I was like, wow, this is really bad. But then what really helped me was basically there was one child called Sherman, and she used to call me, a couple of times during a week and ask like, are you coming on Saturday? And then, when are you coming? What can we do together? And I think those kind of phone calls really help a lot. That, hey, actually, I'm doing something for someone. So it reminds me that, there's a certain community who is backing me, who's behind me, who I can actually do these programs for. So just remembering the cause, remembering like why am I doing it, and clearly knowing that there's this trust between us. I think that was like probably the biggest lever for me to carry on with the programs, which otherwise I don't think I would have. Yeah.
Wow, it's actually very impactful for a kid to really call you to ask you whether, hey, are you coming on Saturday, and really looking forward to that program on Saturday when it was only Wednesday, right? For example. So it's really, I think that really kind of etched in their minds, and it's really fun and enriching experience for them as well, and they really look forward to it every week or every month. Yeah. So with this, the question is, what's next for Sixth Sense? I think you have already created a few. I think you've created foundations, right, and also getting more volunteers, scaling up. So what's next for Sixth Sense?
Yes, Eric. So for Sixth Sense, next steps. So we kind of take it from one module to another module. So one of the modules we just completed is how do you actually structure the Sixth Sense training into for new volunteers. So that's something that we did. So using this, we can actually start to branch out Sixth Sense, for example. So if there's a new group of volunteers which wants to do something like what Sixth Sense does in their own neighborhood, and it maybe they're living in Yishun and they want to do it for the rental flats there, we can actually do it for them, and basically we would love to reach out to different groups of volunteers and see if there's any enthusiasm. So right now the idea is to do more outreach efforts in locations where we can possibly branch out to and teach other group of volunteers to actually do their own art-based activities, and we are very much more than happy to actually sponsor it for them, because we're quite blessed with funds. So essentially we would love to just support you through what we have learned as well, share with you the different sessions that we have actually designed, and our own learnings along the way in terms of how do you run this session in the most effective manner possible. And I think that's really what we are really looking forward to. It's like a Sixth Sense in many different communities across Singapore, not just rental flat, but maybe for just normal HDB flats itself, because I think all kids love the nourishment and an adult presence in their lives, where there's someone who is reaching out to them and interacting with them. So I think that's really what we are hoping for. Yeah.
Nice. Wow, that's really interesting. And for volunteers, right? I mean, you're probably looking for volunteers, to really expand that into different Yishun or Woodlands maybe, or Tiggy, right? What kind of volunteers are you looking for?
Yes, so the volunteers that we're looking for is someone who, is interested or has worked with children before. And if you haven't, it's also okay. Someone who basically has a desire to connect with their own inner selves. So basically, I think if, when you're working with children, it's very important that you connect with the child inside of you. So sometimes someone who is open to that vulnerable journey of being around children means that you have to be okay with being connecting with the child inside you. So someone like that, and someone who maybe has interest in arts and craft is always welcome. And if you don't, like me, I don't really have an arts background at all. It's also okay, and I think we can come and play different sports with the kids, like soccer, for example, or kicking the ball around, or playing frisbee with the kids. I think that's also okay. So I think anyone who has the time to actually come and do this, I think we more than welcome you. So yeah.
Yeah, I think most importantly is the heart, right? The time.
Hard, yeah.
Yeah, practically it's the time, but really psychologically, emotionally, it's the heart that really brings the person forward to really help the kids, right? Cool. So yeah, I mean, for our listeners out there, who wants to start a non-profit, like what you did with your friends, or something of a social good, what's your advice to them?
So Eric, I think the advice will really be that it's a great idea to go out and help different community members, and I think everybody in life should at least do it once, because it's a very rewarding experience, and it teaches you a lot about community work is not really just about you giving, but actually you receive a lot in return as well, and it actually allows you for your own development, and and there are all these other associated benefits with it. So when you do this activity, you just have to be sure, you have trusted people that you can work with. So people that your friends, or etc. that that you kind of know about. And secondly, it's about identifying with the cause. If you're working with animals, then it's very important that you're with the animals at least once or twice a week. If you're with the community members, it's very important that you interact with them very regularly, even over phone calls, even over Zoom. And the idea is about being there for the community as regularly as possible. So I think that's really what we are. That's where the starting point really is for any community organization. And then after that, when you actually have done that, then it's about actually identifying what does this community need. So you need to actually spend time with them and ask them, like, hey, how can we actually go forward? What kind of dreams do you have as a community, and how can we actually be part of the journey in actually helping you to reach that vision that you have for yourself as a community. And I think it's very important to remember that as a community member, right, as an external volunteer, you're not there to replace them. Basically, the idea is that the community can actually has the capacity to fulfill their own dreams, but it's about us going down there to actually work with the community to actually realize their dreams with them. So it's very important they do it themselves, and then our role is really just to support them. So it's very important way of looking at how we do our things.
I think it really reminds me that you are the kind of the a little bit of the brain and the heart, right? And really they are the kind of vessels and the hands and legs, and really like expands the whole body of this whole social service, right?
Exactly, Eric. Just to add on here, I think our role as community workers or external volunteers is to basically provide conduits for public to come in and bring in their help to the community. So for us, we don't have a monopoly, on giving to this particular community. We don't do that. The role of community workers is essentially saying that, I know this community well, I've done a community mapping, I can tell you the 5 needs of this community at the back of my hand, and essentially this is what the community needs, and then I can actually link up different sources of help to the community. So your role is not to say that, you can come and you cannot come, but the role is basically to say everybody is welcome, and this is how you can structure yourself, and this is how you can have the biggest impact. So those are very important parts of community building. Yeah.
Nice. That's great advice, Abhishek. I think that's kind of round up our chats, and I think just want to give a shout out to all children out there. Happy Children's Day to you, right? To all the kids out there. Yay! Oh, we're all kids, you know, at in a way, right? Yeah, cool. Thank you for your time, Abhishek. Thank you for your advice as well, and your sharing about Sixth Sense. It's really inspiring to see you, leading your volunteers and the three of you to really lead this initiative to help the kids and really kind of be with the kids. I think that is emotional support and the trust over there. So thank you, Abhishek, I think, for your hearts and for your effort.
Thank you, Eric, for having us, and really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.